All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to today's stream again. Another weekly stream recapping another episode of The Mandalorian. Let me know in the chat, is the music to AT-AT sound good? Anyways, yeah, welcome to the stream, everybody. What's up, Molly, Lord Vader, Yova, Brian Smith, Joseph, a not-so-ordinary Jedi, Ryan, Elijah Neal, Lubba says maybe they will join later on, Commander Cody, Yova, I think that's everybody right now. Yeah, it looks like a kind of a chill stream today, I guess so. So yeah, let's dive into this, because I watched this episode again, and I changed some of my opinion on it. I thought now it was actually a little bit better because I got over my worry about the aesthetic of like the live, or like the actual on location production. So yeah, it was funny because the first pass of watching this episode, I was like, it feels like Star Trek. I don't know. I'm not sure if anybody in the chat got that vibe. But then again, you know, a lot of Star Trek was filmed in, Southern California? Is the chat working? I can't tell. Oh well, I'll just keep blabbing. Maybe people are just chilling right now doing stuff. You guys let me know. Hopefully I don't lose any connection also today on this stream, because right now, it is currently storming a lot outside of my house. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. I was like, what's happening? Usually this thing is just like people blabbing and talking. It's funny. So I wanted to say, I put this on social media, but on Twitter, and if you don't follow me, I'm just at chat on Twitter. But I said, man, they gotta stop doing these recaps where like they literally give, this is who's gonna be in this episode. Like they give that away, and I think unfortunately, like the second they showed, the supposed Boba Fett shoe from that Fennec episode, I was like, yep, okay, now I know exactly what's gonna happen. Hey, what's up, A. David? Henry Lewis, what's up? So I hope they stop doing that. I don't like it. But other than that, somebody asked, what did I think about Boba Fett? I will literally think... Wait, Gunga said I won't repeat that, but that made me laugh. Gunga, Ginga. So somebody asked me, what did I think about Boba Fett in this episode? Amazing. In this episode, specifically, Boba Fett was incredible. Which I think is funny, because I rolled my eyes big time when I was like, oh, they're going to have Boba Fett in this. And I was like, why? Because it's going to take away from The Mandalorian. Maybe in a little bit of a way it did in this episode, but not in a bad way. And this is the first time I've loved Boba Fett as a character beyond... the cool factor from Empire Strikes Back. That's I don't know any Legends Boba Fett information. So to me, this is my first reintroduction to the character. And you know what's crazy? Like, Tamura Morrison is 60. Did you guys know that? Did you know that he was 60? Henry Lewis says, is it just me or does Tython look extremely bland? Yeah, that was kind of what was bugging me initially about the episode. I was like, I thought it would be a little more intense, I guess. But then again, like, on my second watch, it just didn't bug me because now it just was the story in front of my face instead of me expecting some magical... Octu kind of thing. That's fine. But yeah, I guess I was thrown off by how strange this episode looked just because it was literally on location. At least, it seems like most of the exterior shots are on location. Maybe a couple wide shots were the volume, because it kind of looked like maybe a render. Couldn't tell, though. Yeah, so is Boba supposed to actually be about 40 years old also? I heard in I have a comment on my review from yesterday. You should go check that out. A lot of people were mad at my ranking, but I gave it an 8 out of 10 today, guys. I brought it up. I think it's a better episode than I originally thought. But yeah. Somebody... Oh, let me read this. Actually, this is funny. I think somebody said that somebody wanted Boba to be a dick. Or no, that you like that Boba wasn't a dick to the Mandalorian. Yeah, actually, let me talk about that for a second. I thought that was a very good storytelling beat for this whole series, and the reason, and I didn't see it happening at first, and now I'm like, wow, actually, this makes a lot of sense, because we find out an interesting backstory about the Fetts. Boba being an unaltered clone of Jango, and Jango being a foundling now, which, to my knowledge, completely retcons the history of the Fetts and George Lucas's known explanation for Jango and his armor, right? If I remember correctly, Mandalorians in general are pissed at Boba Fett for stealing armor. That's what I thought it was originally. Could be wrong. So now that he's officially like a foundling and that's his heritage, now him like being nice and helping Din and kind of jumping to action and doing this sort of honorable, I'll help you if you give me back my armor, which has been part of my family. It's like a weird reflection of who Din is. And I never saw that coming, and I love it. So, not sure if other people are kind of like, oh, it's just taken away from Din in his journey, but I don't really think so. To me, it made me actually give a crap about Boba. And I've always liked Jango Fett, so don't get me wrong. Jango Fett is, he was always more interesting to me. Maybe that's just because he does more in Attack of the Clones, but I don't know. Adam Vrana asks, how should Season 2 wrap up according to my personal expectations? So I guess if I had an expectation, I'd probably want it to maybe end on a down note. So that way we're all like, okay, we're stuck having to think about this horrible thing that has happened. Maybe the worst thing kind of has happened right now. I think Din's gonna fail in the final episode, or be betrayed, or convinced that what he's doing is pointless, and just leave the child to Gideon's, lab in the whole Dr. Pershing thing. So I think that could be what is gonna happen. But other than that, I try not to have like a super deep connect or super expectation thing going on, because then I'll just be pissed because it's not as cool as my imagination or something. So it just looks like my chat is stuck. Weird. Let me try something, guys. Just give me 1 second. 1 second here. Yeah, there's something weird with my chat. Sorry, guys. My chat has just been sitting here, frozen. And I was like, that's what's happening. Alright, back in action. Brett Burns says, not my favorite episode. I had high hopes for Tython, and I thought it was super bland. Real fan film vibes. Yeah. Again, I just want to... That's exactly what I said, kind of, in my review. I said, hey, this reminds me of the Next Generation. Specifically, like, that kind of vibe, which is better than crap, but it still looked kind of like if anybody remembers or uses cameras and does cinematography or videography, like 10 years ago there was a camera called an HVX by Panasonic, and I swear it looked like that quality camera that like mimics the look of film, but like that had good lighting. Like that's what it kind of looked like to me. And yeah, you know, second watch, I just didn't care. It was just a fun episode. So I get the whole yeah, it looked like a fan filmy kind of thing. And what's funny about that too is I think it's funny because to a certain degree I almost prefer the volume now. I'm like, it looks more real than reality, which is maybe concerning. I don't know. That could be why I was thrown off, because I'm just so used to the volume now. Maybe that's it. I do think I actually do think the temple was fine though. I think it should be kind of primitive, because we're talking like if they're gonna bring in Tython's actual Legends history, right? Are we going back 20,000 years to that thing being put up as a structure? Oh, Stuart says you could see a helicopter in the background of this episode. That's hilarious. I did not catch that at all. That's super funny. So Commander Cody asks, do you think the Mando will get a new ship? If so, what kind of ship would I like to see? Good question. That's actually... I can't believe that happened in this episode. Like, it raises the stakes a lot, which is great. It is pretty wild that, like, I just watched the Razor Crest, arguably one of my favorite ships right now. Oh, my chat is stuck because it's flying. Yeah, maybe that's what's going on, Dale. I keep on having to toggle between toggle chat out and restore chat. It's super annoying. So where was that? So yeah, with the new ship thing, I just think he's just gonna finish out this whole rescue mission with the Slave One. I don't think he's gonna get the Slave One or anything, and hopefully Boba Fett doesn't like die at the end of this season, and like that's the whole redemption story of Boba Fett, and they close the door on that. I think that'd be kind of lame. Slave One. I think that'd be kind of lame, so I hope they don't do that. I think it'd be corny if you got like an X-Wing, so it'd be interesting if he starts seeking out pre-Empire starships and stuff, you know. Maybe he actually does get like a LAAT or whatever, or LOT, whatever people call those. That'd be interesting. Like a real gunship. Ryan says, the temple reminded me of Stonehenge. Yeah, 100%. Definitely intentional too, but if I remember correctly, whenever I've typed in Tython, I feel like I see those kind of structures every time. Like the sort of pillars pushed in. At least some of the stuff I was searching, it looked like they've always like sort of had that kind of structure on Tython somewhere. So yeah, little Stargatey, right? I definitely got a Stargate vibe as well. Yet it is says, I've seen a lot of TV episodes that give us a sad plot twist at the end like this, but this episode hurt a lot. But I'm super excited to see Din build up his team. Yeah, I'm super pumped, and to get his son back. Hell yeah. The fact that Bill Burr is going to be coming back to this is hilarious. I love Bill Burr in Star Wars because, like, I don't think he cares that he's in Star Wars, and it literally is just Bill Burr in Star Wars. So whatever team is made, I'm here for it. I think it's going to be amazing. And the other thing too is, it did end in a weird way. I didn't look at it as like a twist or anything. I kind of figured this is what was eventually going to happen. Like, you know, I figured the baby was going to be taken at some point. I think when I did my what will happen in this season. So when he was taken, the thing that actually surprised me was like Baby Yoda force choking, or Grogu force choking people, because now we're starting to get the impression of like why Ahsoka might not want to train this little being after all this time at this point, forming a connection. You know, yes, he's protecting himself. He's a little tiny force guy. But it was interesting seeing him use the dark side, or at least what I look to be the force out of anger, right? But then again, it was super sad seeing him in those tiny little handcuffs, right? When they're just like pulled back and you see him in those. It was super cute too. Here, let me pop out my chat again so it gets fixed. There we go. Somebody says, imagine if Vader had a suit made out of Beskar. No, man. If Vader had a suit made out of Beskar, the Empire would have won. That's what I think. Oh wait, is the Last Jedi in the chat? Did I miss? Is he in here? Or did somebody, because that is a guy that used to come and watch these. Or are we talking about the movie? So Henry Lewis asks, did you see the first transport? It looked like one of the First Order uses in the ST. Well, yeah, so it does show like kind of the transition, right, of the Empire to the First Order. But I always thought that the transports that the First Order used were just kind of like not really updated versions from the Empire. At least that's I remember there being like a criticism about those like not being like updated too much, but I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. It's totally fine. That was also a part of this episode that looked a little strange to me. That's the only thing I'll say, right? It wasn't bad, like, you know, the animation of it was good and all that stuff. It just looked a little low res somehow. But I will say, like, the scene where they're flying away, because they're like, I'm not going to mess with Boba Fett anymore. He just killed 3 of our men with his knee. Like, when he puts his knee out and those, like, 2 whistling birds, I'm assuming, or whatever, just take out 2 stormtroopers. I like that they all run away and get in their transports and fly away, and he's just like, you're dead. That was hilarious and amazing. And that scene looked really good. So, it's funny. It's just like an up and down episode in terms of just production quality here and there. But it's a great episode. It looks beautiful. Joel Davis, what's up? Did you hear the Kylo Ren theme when Grogu was force choking these stormtroopers? Well, you know what's funny? I've heard the Kylo Ren theme, like those couple of notes. It's like the first 4 notes, but then it kind of does its own thing. I've heard that like a couple times, even in episode 2 of the first season, when the Mandalorian's going up over the horizon, and you see like the sun behind him, and it's like, you know, the cadence like dun 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 dun, but that one's like major, whereas Kylo Ren's theme is like a diminished chord kind of, or like it's like they're all like minors. It's weird. I don't know. I forget my music theory. But, yeah, I have been hearing something like that. However, I don't think it means anything. I think it's just coincidental, because there are only so many notes. And if you think about how music, or how a score is, you know, intended, it's to give you a vibe and a feeling about what you're watching. So I think there's just certain structures and arrangements of chords that people are like, this is tried and true, and I'll use that. And, like, it might sound like something else that somebody else knows of, and this is Star Wars, so we could be using something familiar in a new way, but without the intention of it meaning anything more than it really is, if that makes sense. And a good example of this, I said this on Twitter, James Horner uses the same, like, oh my god, something alarming has happened, like Q, and it's like, it's literally those like 1, 2, 3, yeah, it's literally those 4 notes. He's used it in Willow, he used it in Avatar, he used it in everything. It's hilarious, and if you, like, once you know it, it's the only thing you notice in movies scored by James Horner. He does it in every single one, so just means like they use something to, you know, they use that cue for whatever meaning they're trying to convey there, and it happens to sound like Ben Solo's theme. So I hope that answers that super long-winded answer there. All right, once again, oh, chat seems to be working. A. David says, if Vader did have the Beskar armor, he still would have done the same for Luke, but have survived. Yeah, if he survived, that's an interesting question. It does raise a question, why didn't the Sith or Palpatine use Beskar in anything if the Empire was coveting Beskar? I mean, I guess this is something we can't go back in time and be like, hey, George Lucas, by the way, in the future, you're going to be giving over everything you've made to Disney, and they're going to continue it, and then the show's going to happen, and Beskar is going to change the world. You know, they basically have to pull a Tenet and walk backwards in time. So, yeah. That would have been pretty cool, but, it gets confusing now, like canon, a little bit for me, because things are changing fast. Alright, so let me fix this chat again. Let's pop it out, because that's the only thing that keeps it up to date. Ruben Chai, Adat, do you have perfect pitch? I don't think I do. Maybe I do. I don't think so. I play a lot of music, though. Probably. I play a lot of music. I have a lot of guitars right next to me. Here. I don't know if you guys can even hear this. My Les Paul sitting. Yeah. Besides doing this stuff, I make just a lot of music with my buddies, like a lot of post-hardcore emo, I guess, is what it would be called. Not that pop-punk stuff, but I don't know. I don't sing well at all. That's what I will say. Yeah, so it does look like the chat's getting stuck for other people. That's funny. It's really weird. Like, everything on my end says everything's good. Like, excellent connection, whatever. But super weird. So Elijah Neal says, my guess is we're going to see the Dark Saber in action during these next 2 episodes. Yeah. There's no way that we're not getting some sort of showdown between the Mandalorian and Moff Gideon, because now he has the spear that that went up against Ahsoka, and arguably Moff Gideon probably isn't as skilled as Ahsoka. Maybe he's close. With that said, I just feel like that's just bound to happen. That duel, it's gonna happen. So I'm here for it. I think he's gonna lose. I hate to say that. I don't think Mr. Mando can be like the winner all the time at the end of every season. I do think this is gonna go like Empire Strikes Back, like on purpose, and it'll just give us something to hang on to for season 3, just for fun. Gabriel asks, Adat, who do you think, or who is the Force user that will come to Grogu for you? Who do I think will come? Well, I kind of hope nobody comes. I think what's more interesting is for Grogu to choose to stay with Din and, become a Mandalorian. However, let's say that a Jedi does show up. There are a few videos out there. I just discovered this channel called Star Wars Meg that does a lot of great videos. Go check out that channel. It's awesome. I think it was one of those videos that I watched. But yeah, they were like, who are the possible Jedi? And the only one that I thought was kind of interesting, because all the other ones are just obvious to me. I thought that Cal Kestis showing up was interesting. I was like, huh. Well, that guy exists in real life, and he looks exactly like... I mean, he's the game character, but he's also a human. So he could be in The Mandalorian and be aged up a bit and come into the fold. So if I had my choice, I would say I want Cal Kestis. So yeah, hope that answers that. Braxton, do you think we will see Kamino in this season? You know what? Somebody keeps bringing that up, that, or I keep seeing that on Twitter. So I actually really hope we do. I would love to see Kamino, because I think that's arguably the best section of Attack of the Clones. It's a super interesting planet, and the aesthetic of, like, the lab there is amazing. It's so weird and so different from, like, anything in Star Wars, at least in my opinion. If that's, like, still up in operation and Pershing is there, amazing. I mean, he has to be. He's wearing he has the emblem, and then there were the science officers, like, wearing the Galen Erso getup. But you know, if not this season, I feel like we're definitely going to see that next season, and I don't think it'd be too difficult to pull off now that season 2 has shown that, hey, we can do anything we want now. Like, we can shoot in Southern California, and we can be in a big room with LEDs. So, yeah. I think we're going to see it in some way, or at least it's going to become a thing. I believe it'll become a thing in The Mandalorian. It can't have been set up enough with Dr. Pershing, you know? All right, let me pop out the chat again to get caught up. A. Davis says, she's great. Meg is a great channel. So Commander Cody says, I'm really thankful for you for changing my views on the sequel trilogy. Watching your videos have really changed the way I look at them, and now I really appreciate them. Oh, wow. I really appreciate that. I'm curious if there were, like, certain things that I explained that helped make sense to you, I guess. Because I know, like, my interpretations are no way gospel, right? Definitely not gospel. But I will say, I think a lot of people got immediately cold on the movie in a way that I guess I could understand, but I think because of that initial, like, oh, I threw it away, I'm already done with this thing, they just didn't want any more to do with it, which is fine. And I think maybe after now and all this time has passed and it's not like, you know, it's not like a wound. I think now, like, just sitting back and just hearing what maybe was intended, I think now they're like, oh yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. And I've been noticing recently, Commander Cody, I've been noticing a lot of people, at the very least, appreciating the movie a lot more now, which is funny. I feel like that's how it always goes with Star Wars, right? The prequels were originally the AKA bastard child of Star Wars, which I think was ridiculous, to be honest. I grew up, I've said this plenty of times, I've grew up with a lot of people crapping on the prequels, saying, like, hey, it looks so cheap, it was so CGI, what the hell is Jar Jar Binks? Pod racing for 9 minutes? What is this? He just goes from left to right, like, you know what I mean? Like, all these complaints. But my 12-year-old ass was like, this is amazing. And that's what's going to happen, too, with a lot of younger folks, I think. But yeah. Anyways, appreciate you telling me that my videos helped you appreciate it more. That's a good sign, I guess. Let me look at a couple more questions here. Oh, Hello Greedo finished. Yeah, I saw that he was streaming right now. I've been trying to catch more of his streams. He's like my soothing guy. The Rogue Rebellion. At chat. Did you ever hear the tragedy of Jeremy? No, I didn't. What happened? I think that guy is a pain in the ass. I'm sure he's a nice guy in real life, but I don't know. Lord Vader, welcome. I didn't see you in here. Hello Greedo stream ended. Now you can stay in here in the Diet Hello Greedo stream. Welcome. Jacob's Quest says, I think social media tainted the sequel trilogy's reception. Oh yeah, I think there was. I mean, if people think about it, I just feel like at the end of the day, there was a lot of heat thrown at the sequels from the beginning. I remember in 2014 reading some articles before I even started doing channel stuff. Before I even thought about sitting here talking to you guys and spending parts of my week thinking about, topics to talk about in Star Wars, I was reading stuff about John Boyega shouldn't be starring in Star Wars. This makes no sense. If this is the Empire, they're supposed to be racist, so they can't be a black guy. And I was like, oh my god. I literally didn't even expect that to happen. But then it was happening, and I was like, oh, I remember talking to one of my colleagues in my editing, I had like an edit suite where I was working, and I was like, can you believe this? I was like, it's like the prequels again. And he's like, yep, that's what's gonna happen. And we both were pumped. Like, we both saw The Force Awakens and we're like, yo, this is the best movie we've ever seen. Straight up. Like, I think we said that to each other, like, when we first walked out. Like, yeah, that was amazing. I don't know if I'll have a movie experience like that ever again. I think that might be it. I think you only get so many. The one before that was Interstellar. Tenet is growing on me in terms of the life-changingness of a movie. But we'll see. But anyways. Somebody gave it a 7 out of 10, the sequel trilogy. Yeah, you know what? That's what I gave it, Elijah Neal. When I did my big video on the sequels, I was just like, people just were immediately dismissive of listening to what I had to say, and nobody has to listen to what I have to say. But it was funny and mildly amusing to go through comments that are like, I don't even need to watch this to say that it's no. And I'm like, okay, I guess interesting response. But I eventually had to put at the top of this video, because everybody was like, how could you rate it? So good. And I'm like, what? I was like, I gave it a 7 out of 10, which is a C minus. It's close to a D. And the reason I said that was like, I'm like, the first two movies for me were great. Almost perfect. It was a good throwback movie, kicking it off like, hey, remember Star Wars? And then it was like, all right, this is what this trilogy is about. No bullshit. Everything's gone. We're not doing let's step back through let's not step back through the whole original trilogy stuff, so everybody's like, oh my god, okay, they're doing Jurassic World or something. Like, no offense if you like that, but to me it's just repetitive. So to me, TLJ like figured out the trajectory of this, and then Tross was like, I don't have enough time to do this, which is fine. I get it. And this is all going to come out in my pretty big video on my year reflection on The Rise of Skywalker. But The Rise of Skywalker, if I can sum it up without sounding like a jerk, because I do watch the movie, and I don't think it sucks. It's not garbage, but it's not amazing either to me. I think it's a super fast series of vignettes that are very beautifully stunning, look exactly like Star Wars, feels like Star Wars, but almost sort of add up to nothing, because we've already seen this story in the previous two movies, except for like the last 30 minutes of this movie, kind of, or the last 30 minutes of Tross. So the way I kind of put The Rise of Skywalker in my brain, and the way I enjoy it, is like, I almost look at it as this like side adventure that happens to take place during the sequel trilogy era, almost as if we haven't seen the end of it yet, So hope that makes sense for my rating. Oh yeah, so somebody was talking about Geeks and Gamers and the pager thing. Yeah, I did see that tweet. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the whole reaction, or like, let's antagonize everybody at Lucasfilm people. It's super weird. But they make money doing it, so I guess that's why they keep doing it. So Ben, okay, so back on some Mando topics here, which I would like to do more of. Ben, I'm just gonna call you Ben. If Boba was tracking Mando for all 3 episodes, why couldn't they have met in Chapter 2 on the icy planet? I guarantee that most likely he probably was tracking him. Probably just trying to figure out, like, I bet he's been I think he says that he's been tracking him for a while, right? My guess is trying to figure out the right way to approach him so that, like, nobody dies. But yeah, I mean, he could have just met him in any episode, right? But this is just how the story went. It's hard to answer those kind of, like, why didn't they just do it then? Because I feel like that's a question you could ask about anything, to be frank. But either way, I think this use of when they meet is perfect. I thought it was, like I said, it made me care about Boba Fett. Didn't give a shit about him before. Now I'm like, oh man, what a tender soul. He wants to help the baby. You know? The guy that froze Han Solo in carbonite, now I'm like, yeah, let's keep him alive. Joel Davis earlier says, I can't wait for the generation to come of age and for the sequels and say that, like, Rey's the best Jedi ever. Yeah, I mean, that's 100% gonna happen. That's what happens. Everything that we think is bad, somebody else is gonna say is amazing. And that's why I try not to even get into the whole art is exactly this, or, like, I don't know. Some people think that, like, you can actually be impartial and, like, remove your own perspective to actually quantify what art is, like, like treat it like a science, and like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, this is objectively bad. But in my head, there's only one way to view something in a film as objective. You can either say the color palette was green, which is either true or not true. There are people in the movie, which is either true or not true. It is a movie, which is true or not true. You know what I mean? That's or like, you know, those are objective things. There is grass in this scene that is green. If you say this is a bad scene because there are green bits of grass, now you're wrong. I don't care how you argue it, how smart you sound, what kind of verbal camouflage you use. Art is not objective unless you're talking about what was used and the materials used to make it. Anyways, let's answer some other questions now that the chat is finally caught up, because who knows why, because YouTube is weird. Brett Burns is talking to me here, saying Tifa was just fun. Don't care if it was a riff on the original. I loved it. When the lightsaber ignite in the snow and all you could hear were the flakes sizzling. Yeah, Chef's Kiss. Hell yeah. I think the lightsaber duels in the sequel trilogy were great. I liked them a lot. Even the untraditional lightsaber battles, right? And I've been seeing a lot of stuff regarding the Mandalorian talking about, hey, Mandalorian's fixing lightsabers again. And I'm like, oh, stop it. Come on. I'm like, can't people like both? I like both. I see nothing wrong with either. There's a big difference between Ahsoka, who was literally trained by Anakin, and Rey, who was trained by books and her mind going into Kylo Ren's mind. So these, like, sort of like they fixed it articles are so stupid to me. And the tragedy of it is, like, so many people buy into this stuff and they think it's like good reasoning, but it's just like arbitrary conjecture about what is good and what isn't. So I don't know. People are itching to stir the pot. And honestly, it is for discussion too. That's the reason why people do that. It makes sense, I guess. Get people talking about it. Here, let me pop out the chat and catch up again. I wonder if this is catching up or not, but yet it is says, I didn't really get into Star Wars until The Force Awakens. Oh, cool. So I'm a little biased on that front. Yeah, I've met a few people that were not into Star Wars at all that got into it with The Force Awakens. I think that's really neat. I'm so curious what Star Wars feels like to them, because I don't remember a time when it wasn't part of my life. It just is. Like, it's been around since I was like at least 3 from what I can remember. And honestly, I feel like even the Ewok movies were like on the TV all the time, like from the time I was 1 year old or something. I just feel like it was always a thing. So, hard to say for me, but that's pretty cool. Welcome to the Star Wars family. Oh, the Rogue Rebellion says, risky opinion. All the sequel trilogy movies are 10 out of 10s. Hey, if you think they're 10 out of 10s, then they are 10 out of 10s to you. That's great. No worries. So we got a Mandalorian question. Nice. More Mandalorian questions. Let's do that. Let me keep up with you, Lord Time listener. I think finally my chat is working again. Do you think the trio of Din, Fennec, and Boba going to get Cobb Vanth? Do you think that's going to happen? You know me, I love Cobb Vanth. I fell in love with that guy in episode 1. Like, I couldn't even believe. I was like, move over, Kylo Ren. I'm a Cobb Vanth guy now. So, I would love for him to come back into the fold. However, I wonder if there'll be like some minor beef with him and Boba. The other thing though, I don't want this like final mission to be like a super derpy hurrah. Like, they all like Ninja Turtle jump down from like the ceiling like a Ninja Turtles 2, and they're like, boom, we're here, and it's like 7 of them, like, remember us from season 1, like that kind of meta kind of I don't know if that was good. Like, them just getting Mayfield is enough for me too. Like, he's Bill Burr in Star Wars, so I feel like if it's him, Boba, Fennec, Bill Burr, and Cara Dune, I feel like Grief Karga wouldn't go for this. I think that'd be it, and maybe like a surprise Bo-Katan show up, right? Maybe, and this is where the whole theory comes in for a lot of people, that Bo-Katan will show up to help Din and get the child, and then see the Dark Saber because she's after him, obviously, and she has Baby Yoda, but then sees that she can get the Dark Saber, hands over the child. Season 2 ends. Din Djarin goes into a depression, and that's it. Actually, imagine if that happened and like the Mandalorian like stopped production. Like, no. But that's I guess that's what I think about that. Henry Lewis asks, do you think the Jedi that Grogu called should be an original character and not a character we know from before? Well, first, I'm not sure if The Rock is a call. Maybe I misunderstood this from when Ahsoka described it. To me, it seemed like this is a place where Yogu would connect to the Force to determine his own path on its own. And a byproduct of doing this was that a Jedi, if they sensed it, might come looking for him. So it wasn't a Grogu goes there to find a Jedi. I think that's where like Din's misunderstanding comes from. So maybe we're talking about Din's perception of what this was supposed to be. But from what I remember, he was just supposed to figure out what he wanted to do. And if so, most likely, if there is a Jedi out there, they will sense him doing this. If there is a Jedi that comes, I said earlier, I think it should be Cal Kestis. I think if Luke does come into the fold, though, I have no real problem with Luke Skywalker coming into the fold. I just, if you were here for my last stream, I said I just don't want him to overshadow something to too much of a degree. I also don't want like everybody to do a whole like. I'm just weary of even Filoni and Favreau didn't do Luke well, and like all of a sudden a bunch of babies are making videos again, like denouncing their lords and saviors. I can't handle that again. That was so silly and stupid. That's actually why I started this channel. there's going to be like a Q&A coming out soon of just me talking into a mic answering questions, which it's still up on my community page. So if you have any Q&A stuff you want me to answer, go there, ask away. It can be the most insane thing you want to ask, for all I care. Anyways, let's just hope that if Luke comes back, it's played by Sebastian Stan. That's all I'll say. Joel Davis says, regardless of how you feel on Tross, I do think the death of Carrie Fisher was the catalyst for a lot of the film's production issues. Actually, I think you're 100% right. I firmly believe that was primarily the biggest factor in this shuffle. Because, you know, we don't really know what happened with Colin. I don't think Colin's script that was leaked was the final version of Duel of the Fates. You know, because the Solana stuff and the timeline, I bet they're like probably gonna say like, hey, this doesn't make sense, so clean that up. But ultimately, like, that version of an ending to the sequel trilogy to me felt closer to what I thought the sequel trilogy was gonna end on, in order to, you know, be the cap on the rest. It had enough connective tissue while still being its own thing, feeling connected to the sequels for me personally. So yeah, with Carrie dying, now that huge event in Duel of the Fates that was so important can't happen. They have to figure out how to make a finale without one of the main characters. How do they do that? So they have to hire a guy, because, you know, Colin Trevorrow is probably not that guy to figure out how do we fix this and go from here. I don't think he is. I think his movies are just okay, bordering on why did they get made. So I'm not a huge fan of him at all. But this one script that he had could have been the thing that changed my opinion of him. So they got JJ the Magician, who can flip a script in 2 days, which is honestly how I think The Rise of Skywalker feels. And, you know, craft a visually stunning movie that feels like the thing you were told it was. And most of the time feels good until the very end, and then at the end you're like, but wait, what? That's it? Really? I don't know if I had a catharsis. So I think my stream might have just like disconnected for a second. Sorry guys. The internet says excellent, but who knows what's going on. With Carrie Fisher passing, that definitely factored into a lot of issues. We could call that the tragedy of the sequel trilogy. That would be an interesting video to explore, or make a video about. Weird. Alright, I got an error on my stream. Saying my connection is poor. Well, we'll just keep going and hope that nothing bad happens. I mean, it's almost been an hour, so if my stream crashes, I apologize, but it's always a possibility during a storm, guys. Somebody says they didn't like Colin's draft. Yeah, I'm just saying, you don't have to, you don't have to love it, to be honest. Just is what it is. Oh. There we go. I think it's working now. Is the chat... There we go. Excellent connection is back. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to make sure my chat and stream doesn't explode on me here. So I live up near Boston, and it's like super sketchy with the internet, and I live in a house that's ancient. It's like from the 1800s. So it's, you know, just like it snows, the lights go out. It's how everybody in where I live deals with, because it's like a historic town. But anyways, I hope that answers that question without like knocking on Tross, because like I say, I enjoy that movie because it's straight up a Saturday morning film, right? It's like a cartoon of a movie that is just pure fun fuel. It doesn't have to make sense, nor does it to me for most of it, but it has moments that I'm like, man, this is awesome. And that's kind of like how this video is going to go that I make, because I'm not going to be dishonest with my channel or my viewers and say, you know what? Just because like I thought the first two films were like almost perfect, that I have to say the finale was perfect, or defend it because that's what my channel is founded on, enjoying the sequels essentially in the beginning. You know, it just didn't. It wasn't a good cap to me, and that's just how it is, and that's how it always will be. But I don't think it's something to just be mad about. We got the Mandalorian to talk about, right? We got all this other cool stuff happening. We have the Cassian series literally filming now. So, and I honestly am the most excited for Kenobi. That's the thing on my mind that I'm like, I really, really hope this miniseries nails it. And whatever that means is arbitrary because it means something else to all of you. So. Elijah Neal says, I would have liked Duel of the Fates better than Tross, but we got what we got. Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. We got what we got. It's fun. It is what it is. Oh, there we go. The chat finally popped back up. Oh, I got a super chat. Thanks so much. Really appreciate that. Donations are always welcome on this channel. Keeps the lights on. Well, it keeps the gear on, I guess. I always have to replace gear every now and then. So McClunky, thanks so much. I appreciate that super chat and support for the channel. So you said, I wish they used the Eye of Webbish Bog and Tross. 100%. I think, regardless of the movie's other various problems, the biggest problem overall was the feeling that they needed to trim down the movie to be like under 3 hours. And I don't think that was an executive push to say like, hey, I think JJ should get out of the way and I'm going to trim his movie up and screw up his vision because I have power. I think JJ just did that and said like, I think it's too long. Let's just cut, all this stuff out and stitch it together and reshoot this one scene to make it make sense. That's kind of how it felt to me. Like, it feels like he finished the movie, saw it, and was like, let's actually tell it this way. Because we know that Rey was still not necessarily a Palpatine during the production of The Rise of Skywalker. That was admitted by the cast. So it just is what it is. But the Webbish Bog at least should have stayed in my opinion, to just make the opening scene kick more ass. Because the opening scene is awesome. But you have no context to what's really going on. Somebody replied to my video of me explaining the intro of Tross, saying, well, if you can explain it, then you don't need to explain it, because clearly you understood it. And I'm like, brother, if you watch this video, I had to use a book to understand it. I had to get the visual dictionary to know that he was on Mustafar, which now I notice the planets, so I could have been like, yeah, it's those planets, I know. But I've never seen a forest on Mustafar. I didn't play Darth Vader or whatever that Oculus game is, Eternal or whatever, Immortal, Darth Vader Immortal. So I didn't know about the forest, and I didn't know about like this relic that Vader had for the Sith. And the Webbish Bog thing was like the ultimate Star Wars alien, and it is based off of a symbiote from concept art for The Force Awakens. Same head and everything, but it was just on like a regular humanoid style alien. But they should have kept it in, because man, it would have been just the right kind of horrifying, where you don't necessarily disturb children too much, but you do just enough, like 80s movies, that maybe they don't sleep that night. That's what I think should have been in the movie. Like, that kind of stuff in Star Wars is important, because it makes it, fun for the adults, like, or older people, and also just weird for the young kids, so like they have these memories. Like, that's what I remember about Star Wars. When I was a kid, I was like, man, that slug thing was completely insane. Or like, or like that, like, Salacious Crumb was like frightening to me for a while, but I was so compelled by Salacious Crumb, or like intrigued by his laughing. Just things like that stick with you when you're a kid. The Webbish Bog would have been that thing that people in 20 years had been like, man, movies in 2019 were so screwed up for kids. They had this like alien puppet symbiote in a kids movie. So I think that would have been amazing. Yo, what if Jar Jar is in the Mando? I don't see it happening. I think his story's over, right? He's a jester. Would you have to go to, what, Coruscant to find him? Or is he in Hosnian Prime being a jester? I can't remember. Everybody's saying maybe Jar Jar's in prison. Well, anyways, McClunky, thanks so much for the super chat earlier. So, Falsifier Rex says, if you ask me, the two biggest ways to fix Dross as it is remove Rey being a Palpatine. Yeah, well, to be honest, the way that the movie is constructed, you literally don't need to have Rey be a Palpatine at all. It's a beat in the movie that doesn't need to happen, and the only thing that you can have, you can leave them as a dyad. You can leave everything regarding Palpatine and Kylo in the beginning. You can even leave Dark Rey and her call to the wreckage of the Death Star and to Palpatine and to whatever. Because the way to fix this is to have an opening that actually gives some context. But since we can't, the way to fix it is just to make it about Palpatine coveting the dyad. He knows that Snoke thinks he created this thing, but what should have kind of happened is him being like, I know what you are, Rey, or something like that. I know what you are, you and Kylo, and I know he wouldn't bring you to me, but you came to me, so he's gonna come to you. And that was Palpatine's big plan, because he wants the dyad that he found out via Snoke, his puppet, existed, and then he wants them there to pull their life force so that he can resurrect. None of this nonsense about the connection. And you can keep everybody in there, but you can now make the dyad compelling and a reason to exist beyond an awesome transfer of a lightsaber. That kicked ass. But let's make it meaningful. At least, that's what I think. Marcia Campbell says, I love TLJ, Tross is a mess. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Stewart says, the Webbish Bog is in the novel version. Yeah, and it's an incredible scene. Rogue Rebellion, at chat. What's in the box? I hate the box. I'm done with JJ's mystery box. I want JJ just to write a movie that has no mystery box mystery. I don't know if he can do it. He's only done one original movie. He's done a bunch of scripts that I like for other movies that other people directed, but I don't know. Commander Cody says, I like Rey calling herself a Skywalker. It's like she was accepted to their family. Yeah, I had no problem with that at all. A lot of people were like, and all of a sudden she just becomes a Skywalker? And I'm like, well, I feel like we all knew that was coming anyways from the first movie. She's this trilogy's Skywalker, you know what I mean? Not like Ben, but she's in that role. And then, you could argue because we didn't see a lot of the training with Leia or the relationship. I mean, she was trying to find her family, and she found family in the Skywalkers. And people are like, well, Luke was a jerk to her. Well, I'm like, again, we unfortunately don't have that year of context when maybe he was talking to her a bit here and there. I don't know. We don't know. And maybe to her, Skywalker means something to hold yourself up to. We don't necessarily know. But either way, we know it's Rey finally choosing to be who she wants to be. And I'm okay with that because that was ultimately what Rey's character was about. Just the bloodline stuff was a bit wacky. Yeah, somebody mentioned the random, same-sex couple kiss, the lesbian kiss. Yeah, I cringed at that because I was like, if you're gonna do that, do it. Be honest. Do it. Have it be in the movie. Maybe they have an embrace where they're worried. They're going to battle. She's on top of the Star Destroyer with the space horses. The other one's in a ship somewhere else flying. And they kiss in the middle of the movie. We find out, Daisy, is it Daisy or whatever? I can't remember her name. It's oh, they're in a relationship. Interesting. Okay, I care more about these two characters that I know nothing about now. Give her a story, she had a little bit of one. or you know, a speech. You know, she had more presence in The Last Jedi, and then pay it off. We won. There's now a second kiss and more meaning to why they embrace. Again, there was a lot of like, this happens, but you don't know why, nor does it matter. That's like kind of what happened. Also, fair warning, you might hear kids yelling. I think my son just woke up. If you do, don't yell at me. So let me fix the chat again. Jar Jar was a jester on Naboo. Okay, my question was answered. Okay, so he was on Naboo. How sad is that, though? Brett Burns asks, did Din's repulsor rifle get vaporized? I think so. I didn't see it on him. Was his rifle on him at all? Yeah, if that thing's gone, that's a super big bummer. I wanted to write a video about how horrifying it is to be like destroyed by one of those. Apparently, it's like super horrifying. Like, you don't want to be disintegrated, right? So Emperor Holocron asks, if there's one thing that I could take out of TUFA, what would it be? For me, it would be the New Republic being destroyed. I wouldn't do that, personally. That didn't bug me. I thought that was fine. They're like, okay, they're doing the thing. I get it. Like, they're raising the stakes. They're doing the rebeats of A New Hope in a new way, as like, you know, an homage, kind of like you know what I mean? So the thing that I would take out, though, it would be more of a swapping of scenes. I would take the deleted scene of Kylo Ren on the Falcon saying Han Solo as more of a reminiscing about who he once was, and then maybe sensing him that way, because that is more interesting and connects more to his past, gives us something more to chew on about who he is, versus him just walking down the corridor, giving orders, and then stopping, turning his head, and going, Han Solo. Like, that was a little basic for me, so that's really kind of it, to be honest. But Kylo Ren, yeah. I love Kylo Ren. The recent comic that involved Kylo Ren, though, really, really weird. I know it's for younger people, and it's not exactly like supposed to be taken too seriously, but you know me. I take it seriously. Somebody mentioned Baby Yoda or Grogu's cute meditation hands. Yeah, I loved that. I thought that was probably one of the coolest things about this episode was Yoda on the meditation rock. At first, I was so underwhelmed. I was like, okay, somebody did like the most basic hieroglyphics around this, but then on my second watch, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. There's thousands and thousands of years old. But once he like got on it, I realized like, oh, he puts his hand down on it, or down on the rock. Din turns around to see what's going on, and then he finally connects into the Force. That whole sequence was awesome. I also loved the way that Ludwig like scored that scene. He always like uses these like big major sounding chords like with these synths, and it just sounds like the beginning of the universe, kind of like that kind of like big post-rocky thing. And he has a very unique take on what like tapping into the Force sounds like musically, and I love it, especially in that scene. Like whenever Grogu does a Force thing, there is this really cool music surrounding it. I highly suggest going back and watching any scenes where he does something with the Force. You know, even the scene where he's like holding back the fire, it kind of goes back to, I think, episode 2's cue when they go over like the sunrise area. So yeah. Here, let me take a sip of water so you can hear my mouth sounds. I'm getting tired from this music. It's making me like sound so chill, or feel so chill. Here, let me pop out the chat now so I can actually catch back up with the chat. This is so annoying. So somebody says, are the comics considered canon? Yes, they are considered canon. Yeah, okay, so, wow. But, man, I can't believe my chat is this bad. So, sorry, it's like just catching up. So, yeah, her name is Daisy. Okay, great. I'm glad I was correct. Here, let me just scroll down the chat a little bit, just so I can see what we're all talking about. So Gabriel Sales kind of mentions that they should think about less about money. I honestly think you have the wrong idea about how they thought about these movies. I think somebody died and it derailed the trilogy in such a way that there was truthfully no coming back to, I feel like, this kind of, narrative cohesion. I just think it just, at that moment, that was it. It's super unfortunate, and at least we got one super amazing performance out of Carrie Fisher, but that's how I look at all this, to be frank. Yeah. Here, let me restore the chat again so I can get caught back up. Well, it seems like maybe my internet's starting to get real funky, guys, so it's been a good hour, I think, of us talking, right? We've been on here, yeah, for an hour and 8 minutes. Well, I think it's about time that we all part ways, get pumped for next week's episode. I'm really curious as to what it's going to be. I know a lot of people make all these, like, speculative videos right now about, like, their thoughts. I just can't bring myself to, because I don't want to think about it, because I love just being surprised right now as much as I can be. And I have to say, like, Season 2's been so awesome so far. A lot better than Season 1, just for me personally. And I really do hope that this ends on a cliffhanger, kind of. Not like literal cliffhanger like the end of TFA, but just something that makes us need to, like, hold on till Season 3. I think it's going to be Grogu. So, let me go back through the chat here, just so I can make sure I talk to everybody who's currently still chatting. So yeah, Stuart, Commander Cody, Dale Erdman, Elijah Neal, Flyman MS. I think the movies were made the way they were supposed to be done. And yeah, everybody else in the chat, there's a lot of people hanging out today. I really appreciate it. I love these streams. I'm also probably going to do one tomorrow, talking about the same stuff around the same time. So if y'all want to come hang out again, talk about Mandalorian, and honestly, we can just have a general stream tomorrow. Doesn't matter. I kind of love when we veer off into whatever. And yeah, so tomorrow just expect another stream. These are super fun. We'll be doing another one next week until the season ends. And then I'm hoping to keep doing this weekly Saturday or Sunday stream. During the week, it's a little too tough, but it's super fun hanging out with you guys, and appreciate that super chat earlier. So as always, may the force be with you all, and the AT-AT chat is signing off.